Yo, I'm Bob. Into Marvel, happen to be totally blind since birth, talking about Spider Man, the animated series, Season 1, Episode 13, Day of the Chameleon. It premiered on June 11th in 1995 in prime time, right alongside X Men, the animated series, Weapon X Lies, and Videotape. That was kind of cool that these two would premiere in prime time. I did not get to see Spider Man because my brother and I and our grandmother, we'd gone to see a movie about a talking pig, Gordy. So I missed Spider Man. I got back in time for X Men, but I missed the chameleon and his shape shifting antics because I was, coming back from a movie about a talking pig, which we both wished had been Power Rangers the movie, but that wouldn't have come out for a couple weeks. But I think we saw the trailer before the movie started. But yeah, this one was one of my favorite episodes of Spider Man because, spoilers ahead, pause the video and go watch it if you haven't already. You were warned. This episode introduced Shield and Nick Fury in this incarnation of Marvel goodness. So when the episode starts, we are right away introduced to Shield agents. They're pursuing the Chameleon. He's been hired by a group of evil ne'er-do-wells who want to unalive a couple of delegates who are going to be signing a peace treaty. They want a war between these two countries, so I'm guessing they can profit off of that. And Chameleon, he's been sent to New York to do the deed. So I think this might take place near an airport. I don't know. No audio description for these older animated series. There is a lot of dialogue in this episode, but then there are some scenes where, there are just explosions going on. There are people screaming. You have, I think her name is Agent One, and she's after the chameleon. He's, of course, shape shifting into everybody and their uncle throughout the entirety of the episode, trying to get to where he needs to be in order to unalive the two delegates. So he's just having fun as the episode starts. Spider-Man just happens to be in the neighborhood because he is, of course, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So he's saving folks before we go to commercial break. And I was reminded again as I'd rewatched this one for the umpteenth time how you have a minute or so of TV show and there's that screaming woman. I guess she's falling, and then we go to commercial break. That really annoyed me when I was a kid because I was like, why are you doing this? I'm not going to get up and go grab a snack. I'm going to be glued to the TV because there's only like a minute of commercials and then the show comes back on. You don't even want to go to the bathroom when these commercial breaks show up because, you might not be done in there, and then you're going to hear, and now back to our show, or whatever the little commercial bumper was for Spider-Man back in the day. So another thing I liked about this episode was we got to see more of Jameson because he's gonna be, hosting the soiree where the delegates are gonna be signing the peace treaty, and he's just being his curmudgeon-y self as the episode starts. I think one of my favorite lines from him, or it's along the lines of, "No, I don't want escargot. I hate escargot. Give me caviar," or something like that. And it's one of my all-time favorite scenes because Peter's just running in there like a puppy, begging to go to the party so he can shoot the peace treaty of the century there. And Jameson is such a cool guy because he's wanting to hear Peter out, but at the same time he doesn't want to make it easy for him. So he has him get into a cab with him, and Peter's just going to ride along with JJ to the tailor's, or so he thinks. He's going to go get fitted for a tuxedo. He hates those monkey suits, as he says. So, Peter's pleading his case, and it doesn't take much for JJ to be convinced. I think JJ really admires Peter as a photographer. I mean, I think he admires his whole staff, but he wants to come off as a hard case, He wants to come off as someone who's perpetually grumpy, maybe intimidating. I think he really does like Peter. I would imagine he knows what happened to to Peter's uncle, or he, it might be in the back of his mind. I don't know. I get the sense that that was probably in the news when it happened in this continuity. So maybe JJ knows about his situation. Doesn't want to come off as too nice of a guy, but I love that he's like, all right, you can take your pictures, just, you know. But then they're bamboozled and taken to the Shield helicarrier, and I think this is the first episode in which we get to see the flying car, as well as of course, it's the first episode in which we get to see the helicarrier, and they have to get to the helicarrier, which is airborne one way or another, and I'm guessing it's by flying car, even though, I mean, they don't talk about the vehicle flying. And then we're introduced to Nick Fury in this continuity, and I always thought he was such a cool dude, especially when I found out he had an eye patch. But when it comes to the incarnations of Fury, my favorite is undoubtedly Sam Jackson. This guy was pretty cool. When I was a kid, I liked him a lot. I didn't even know they made an action figure in this particular toy line, the Spider-Man toy line, until maybe about a year or so after I saw the episode. I was opening a Tombstone action figure, and one of my cousins was looking at the card back, and I think she was like, "Who the heck is Nick Fury? He looks cool." I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know they made him," but I never found him. He was an interesting character in the episode. He's there to talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. and how not even the FBI or the CIA knows about them. And, he's talking to Jameson about how they want him to help stop the Chameleon. Of course, Spider-Man is I don't want to say a fly on the wall, he's a spider on the wall as he's listening to the conversation go down. They give Jameson a pen, he's supposed to tap on it, and then, they whisk them back to New York, and this is where all the fun starts, because you have Chameleon posing as Glory Grant. She's one of the folks that works for Jameson, and so yeah, he is posing as Grant for a bit. He's posing as Robbie, trying to get the plans for the party, I think, and so he can do what he needs to do there. And it's just kind of a lot of running around in this episode. You have Spider-Man and everyone else trying to be one step ahead of the Chameleon, and he's throwing a lot of gas bombs at Spider-Man throughout the episode, making him cough. He's a wily character. I had his action figure when I was a kid, Chameleon. He had alternate heads. He had a Venom head, a Spider-Man head, as well as a J. Jonah Jameson head. Although I really didn't mess with him that much, because you could only switch the heads, and the body was Chameleon's. But I thought it was still a cool figure. He had that belt, the image-inducing belt that he wore. He came with a little gun. It was an interesting figure. But you have a lot of just shape-shifting throughout the episode. Chameleon disguises himself as Fury at one point. He disguises himself as JJ at one point. And I thought the coolest part of the episode was toward the end, where they think they've stopped him, and come to find out he is in the guise of Peter Parker at the end of the episode, because it goes back to the beginning of the episode where you have factual Peter talking about how he wants his shot. But here you have Chameleon posing as Parker, and he's there to get a different kind of shot. And I imagine it was an interesting scene having Spider-Man come in fighting Peter Parker. But you have Spidey ultimately saving the day, and he just keeps touching the belt of the Chameleon, and his shape-shifting ability goes nuts, and he passes out. And I forgot about that scene earlier in the episode where he's going into that elevator as Peter, and he sees Mary Jane, and he kisses her, and she asks him to go to her Shakespeare play. Of course, he's not going as Chameleon, but Chameleon doesn't care. He's just ruined another date for Peter, unbeknownst to him. Of course, he doesn't care. And so she's standing there rather, as the Shakespeare play is commencing, looking for Peter, and she's doing her lines and all that, and getting angrier and angrier at Peter for not showing up in the episode. So it's just a very chaotic day in the life for Spider-Man. But I like how after he helps Shield capture Chameleon, Fury does recognize him and say thanks, and I think that makes Peter's day because, of course, there are so many folks in New York, Jameson included, who feel like Spider-Man is a menace. He's not getting paid for this. This is, something that he's doing voluntarily. Well, I mean, he kind of is getting paid for this because he's taking pictures of himself as Spider-Man. So I guess he kind of is getting paid for this. But I mean, it's hard work, and he's putting his life on the line every day. And I love that scene where Fury just kind of flies past him and he's like, "Heck of a job, Spider-Man, thanks," and it really tickles Peter to be thought of and to be thanked by Nick Fury. So yeah, this was my first instance in which I was introduced to Nick Fury and Shield, and I wish they'd been in this show a bit more than they were. I don't think we see them again until the Black Cat two-parter in season 4, and then we see him in season 5. Although we see the Chameleon in the very next episode, because with this guy going to prison, all the pieces are there for Kingpin to maneuver. And I wish we could have gotten a really interesting scene at the end of this episode with, Chameleon, Mysterio, Rhino, Scorpion, Shocker, and Dr. Octopus being in prison. You could have seen them in their individual cells, and maybe we could have gotten to see Kingpin, having a camera set up in there. I would have loved to have seen the wheels turning in his head as the season comes to a close. Maybe you could have seen the Chameleon going to prison. Then he's in there, and then you could have seen the other 5 members of the Insidious Six, as they're known in this incarnation of Spider-Man. But we didn't get that. I like how the episode ends with Mary Jane showing up to Peter's front door, and instead of saying, "Tiger, you just hit the jackpot," I think she slaps him for not showing up to her play, and then he's running after her, just babbling incoherently about, "Well, I can explain, but wait, maybe I can't explain, but I'm going to try to explain. It's not my fault. See, this is what happened. Please listen to me. Hey, don't walk away. Wait, come back." And there's this goofy comedic music playing at the end of the episode, and it's so sad for this guy, man. I mean, he's trying to make New York a better place, and here's this shape-shifting nutcase who has really made things difficult for his life as Peter Parker. And I know it's supposed to be funny at the end of the episode, but I always felt really bad for Peter. At least I think she slaps him when he opens that door. And he is not having a good day at the end of the episode. So season 1 doesn't end with him dating anybody. He's just slapped, and then he's trying to chase after her, wanting to explain what the heck happened. But yeah, that's not working out so well for him. So I guess, I mean, it's been a long time coming, but season 1, we finally reached the end of it, and I liked it a lot. I think next time I'm going to try to watch the episodes in a different order. I watched them in the order, I think one of the Marvel wikis presented to us, with Sting of the Scorpion being right after Night of the Lizard. I might watch them the way that they were shown on TV. I think Sting of the Scorpion came after the Mysterio and Dr. Octopus episodes, after Peter had dated Felicia a few times, and she's finally letting him know, hey, we're just not meant to be. But other than that, I think in terms of how all the episodes shook out, I really like them, because we get a lot of first times for Spider-Man. He's introduced to, all of the members of the Insidious Six throughout the first season. And when Neogenic Nightmare starts, then he's going to have to go up against all 6 of them at once in the first 2 episodes, which serve as a 2-parter for the 14 episode saga itself. I think my favorite episodes had to do with the Kingpin, of course, with Norman Osborn. I love the Alien costume three-parter, but a lot of the one-offs were really, really amazing too, spectacular, if I may use those terms. I mean, I love the episode dealing with the lizard and Dr. Connors. Dr. Octopus, he quickly became one of my favorite baddies. I liked the episode in which Spider-Man has to save Mariah Crawford from Kraven the Hunter, because that's going to come back around to him in a good way in season 2. I really did enjoy the first season. I wish I could have seen it after it wrapped up, but I never taped these when they first aired. I taped them when they would air in reruns because I really liked the show. I don't think I had a VCR with a timer on it when these were airing. So, yeah, I think I give season 1 a 10 out of 10. I really had a ball with this. I always do going back and watching these because I think the 90s Spider-Man show was one heck of a show. I feel like it's right up there with X-Men. They really didn't dumb anything down in this, especially in episodes like Day of the Chameleon. We're introduced to S.H.I.E.L.D. and we're told what the Chameleon is sent to New York to do, and some pretty heavy moments for a show that aired on Saturday morning. So now, yeah, next time we're going to be talking about Neogenic Nightmare Chapter 1. Can't wait to get into Season 2. As much as I like Season 1, I think Season 2 is just... it's very spectacular, amazing, all the other words having to do with Spider-Man, and I cannot wait to get into those episodes. I would tape those from week to week when they were airing, because, I mean, that was a heck of a season. I think it's a heck of a series, and I can't wait to continue reviewing these episodes. So, until next time, I'll hear you then.